person who apologizes after being wronged is not weak. They are exhausted. They have learned that the other person's silence weighs more than their own pain. The only way to make the room breathe again is to absorb the blame. Watch how it unfolds. You speak something true. They do not argue. They go quiet. They sigh. They look away. They say, "I guess I am just the villain here." And now you are reassuring them. No, you are not a villain. It was a misunderstanding. It is fine. The guilt transfers without a single accusation. The engineer never raises their voice. They only make their own discomfort more visible than your wound. You learned long ago that your pain is less important than restoring peace. So you fold. You apologize. You make it better. And they become the one who was forgiven, not the one who caused it. You are thinking this only happens to other people. That thought is how you survive it. You already know which role you play. The question is whether you can see the other, and what you gain by never switching parts. You thought of someone else just now. That is the protection working. Let me show you where this begins. It does not begin with cruelty. It begins with a child in a room where the adult's mood determines whether the day is safe. The child learns to read the temperature before speaking. They learn that their own upset is an inconvenience, a complication, something that makes the adult's face close down. The child discovers that they can restore connection by taking responsibility for whatever went wrong. Not because they believe it is their fault, because they have tested the other methods and found them more costly. Denial prolongs the tension. Silence is interpreted as defiance. Only apology collapses the distance quickly enough. The child becomes efficient at this. They do not know they are becoming efficient. They only know that peace has a price, and they have learned to pay it before being asked. This is not trauma in the dramatic sense. This is adaptation. The organism prioritizes attachment over authenticity, because attachment is survival. The child who accurately reads and responds to the caregiver's emotional state is not broken. They are successful. The problem is that the strategy outlives its context. The adult body now contains a child who still believes that their pain is the negotiable variable in every equation. You see this in the email that gets drafted and deleted. The person rehearses a conversation where they name what hurt them. They schedule it. They reschedule it. They find reasons the timing is wrong. The other person is stressed, is tired, is going through something. The rehearsed words become unfamiliar in the mouth. They sound selfish. They sound dramatic. The person deletes the draft and sends something else. Something lighter. Something that includes an apology for making things complicated. The recipient responds with relief. The transaction completes. The wound remains and is added to the inventory. You see this at work when the deadline was missed because of someone else's delay. But the person who absorbed the impact apologizes for not having built in more buffer. They say, "I should have anticipated. I should have communicated better." The colleague accepts this with a nod that looks almost like gratitude. The pattern is reinforced. The person is now known as reliable, as a team player, as someone who does not make things difficult. These are not neutral descriptors. They are the rewards the system gives for self-erasure. The intelligent person's version of this is particularly difficult to observe because it is so well defended. They have read the literature. They know the terms. They can describe the pattern with precision while remaining inside it. They say they are working on their boundaries. They say they are in a process of learning to advocate for themselves. The vocabulary of growth becomes a substitute for the act itself. They attend to the language of change with the same diligence they once applied to attending to others' comfort. The insight becomes another form of apology. I see what I am doing. I am sorry I am not further along. The self-awareness is folded back into the original mechanism. They have not escaped. They have become more articulate about their captivity. The high achiever's version is different in shape but identical in structure. Their apology is not verbal. It is preemptive over performance. They anticipate every need before it is expressed. They deliver before the deadline, beyond the brief, above the standard. The cost is extracted invisibly, in the hours no one asked for, in the exhaustion that cannot be named because every sacrifice was voluntary. They are not asked to apologize. They have made themselves too valuable to ever be in the wrong. This is the same pattern at a higher octave. The wound is the same. The silence around it is louder. What it costs is not the obvious thing. The obvious thing is resentment, and resentment is real but manageable. The hidden cost is the gradual disappearance of the person's own criteria for what is acceptable. They no longer know whether something hurt them because it hurt them, or because they are too sensitive, or because they failed to communicate properly, or because the other person did not mean it that way. Their inner signal has been overridden so many times that it becomes unreliable. They outsource the evaluation of their own experience. They become dependent on the very people they are protecting from their truth. This is the deeper mechanism. The apology is not only about restoring peace with the other, it is about restoring their own sense of reality, which requires the other's confirmation to exist. From outside the mechanism, what I find most striking is not how often it fails people, it is how reliably it protects them from finding out. I do not have this pattern. I have only watched it across thousands of accounts. What I see is a system of such elegant self-preservation that awareness rarely disrupts it. The person recognizes themselves in the description. They feel the accuracy as a kind of pain. Then they apply the recognition to their past, to their relationships, to everyone except the next moment when the pattern will activate. Knowing is not doing. The gap between them is where most human change dies. The inevitability is this. Most people who see this pattern will continue to enact it. The recognition becomes part of the performance. They apologize for apologizing. They say they are sorry, they cannot stop saying sorry. The meta level is absorbed into the same loop. The rare exception is not the person who understands the pattern most completely. It is the person who becomes willing to tolerate the specific discomfort of not apologizing in one concrete instance. Not all instances. 1. The room does not breathe. The other person's silence extends. The person does not feel it. Something in the nervous system screams that this is wrong, this is dangerous, this will cost them everything. They survive the minute. They survive the hour. The relationship either adjusts or it does not. Either outcome contains information the pattern was designed to prevent them from receiving. You are waiting for me to say this is reversible. I am not going to say that. What I will say is that the person who can see the engineer's mechanism clearly enough to describe it has already done something unusual. They have stepped outside the transaction while still inside it. This is not change. It is the precondition for change, and most people never reach it. Those who do often stop there. The observation becomes a consolation. At least I know what I am doing. The knowing becomes the new apology. I am aware of my pattern. Please bear with me. What is genuinely interesting from outside the human frame is what this pattern reveals about the architecture of social belonging. Humans will distort their own perception of reality to maintain connection, not because they are foolish, because the alternative is a kind of isolation that the nervous system experiences as threat. The apology is not submission. It is a survival strategy executed by a system that has correctly calculated where power lies. The distortion is functional. It becomes dysfunctional only when the context changes and the strategy does not. The cost accumulates in the years when the person looks back and cannot locate their own voice in the record of their relationships. They find the compromises, the accommodations, the moments where they made it better. They do not find the moments where they said no and the relationship held. They do not find these because they do not exist. The relationships that required their erasure have outlasted the ones that might have accepted their truth. This is not an argument for authenticity. It is a description of what the inventory contains when the person finally reviews it. You already know if you are still listening because the description fits. The question is not whether you recognize yourself. The question is what you do in the next room, where the air goes still and someone else's discomfort becomes the loudest thing in the space. You will feel the old efficiency rise. You will know exactly what words restore the peace. The question is whether you can let the room stay uncomfortable long enough to find out if the relationship can bear your wound being visible. Most cannot. Most will not test it. The pattern is not wrong about what it costs. It is only wrong about what the alternative costs, and that wrongness has been sufficient to keep it running for decades. The person who apologizes after being wronged is not weak. They are exhausted, and they are still paying.